cloud and the NBN and all the wonderful things that are going to come, are issues around sovereignty, security, protection of privacy and all of the other things. I suppose my only comment previously about getting on with the job is that those are the important issues, actually. They're the ones that we should be really tackling, because outages in the context of flooding in Queensland or otherwise, that's the world we live in, and every report we read is sort of inclined to suggest there might be more of it. So I think it's a really important issue, and it perhaps needs to be dealt with in the context of national security as much as anything else. So I think the policy discussion will shift away from the NBN, the infrastructure issues, and on to practice and principle and how we manage it and protect our interests. So.
From my perspective, I think that one of the problems that we have in small business is that we've tended to rush at social media as a solution and I kind of group eBay into this as well. We've rushed at it without thinking about it, and if you do open an online store and you're selling, you've got to think about it as if you're opening a bricks and mortar store. And a lot of small businesses I talk to rush at the opportunity that Facebook or eBay can offer without thinking it through. And really, they do it without planning. They don't consider the money that's involved. They don't consider the time that's involved. It's something I'll be talking about tomorrow in my presentation, because often I'm asked to can you give a half-hour presentation on how to set up a business with social media? Really, it's a 3-day workshop where you have to dissect your business and think about how you put it together. So I think the opportunity, and small business tends to be opportunistic. They rush at something like social media, as if it may be the golden bullet that's going to solve their real-world problems by going into the virtual world. So I think it's a combination of things. There isn't an easy answer for your question, as you may have learned, and it's definitely a problem that needs to be addressed. So what I've seen is that chambers of commerce and particularly local councils are helping by mentoring small business into that area, and it's I've been to a couple of workshops around New South Wales, and when it's done properly, and the problem is understanding that market and how you address it, and it is completely different to a bricks and mortar or traditional small business. Any other questions? Yes. Well, I think you're geographically the furthest away from the microphone.
Just yell out.
Yeah.
And while we wait for the microphone, I'll plug our breakfast tomorrow, which is Winning Business Online, so you should come along to it.
Oops, I forgot. Sorry, Liz.
Yeah, Derek Tink, New South Wales Business Chamber, Digital Business Executive. Digital Enterprise Program for the region, how far away is that? Of course, it's a very, very good program. It's running very successfully up in the Armidale region, and will the Orana region be benefiting from it?
Sorry, which program was that?
Digital Enterprise Program.
So the government, for other people, two government programs that the government have rolled out in relation to assisting small business and local communities, for that matter, as a digital enterprise program the gentleman's mentioning, which the government rolled out to the first 40 communities to receive the NBN. And really, in a nutshell, what that is that consultants, I suppose, through a tender process, were awarded contracts to work with local businesses in an area to give them free training, to look at their business plan and give them advice on how they could use high-speed broadband and the NBN for that matter in their business environment. That program, I think the government are looking at continuing that program, but I can't advise at the moment. That's not in my area of the department. But, and there's another program that the government has, a digital hubs program, where essentially there's about 28% of Australian society that either don't have access to a computer or don't use the internet on a regular basis. And the idea again was to roll out to those communities where the NBN the service is going to be available first, and have these facilities where people can go into a local library or something where they're being set up, these kiosks are being set up, and they can use an internet and be taught the benefits of the internet, something that they probably haven't had before. They've relied on family to do so. So again, the programs of the government are being rolled out, and continuation of those programs will be considered by government.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, over there.
Sorry, just a quick one probably for Joe. With the reported delays in the rollout for the NBN, will that affect Dubbo at all? Will we still happen in June, or?
Yeah, I gave a quick update this morning. I'm not sure, you might not have been here for the day session. Basically, no. Physical construction, workmen in construction guys in high vis, literally pulling green fibre, is still June, July, which is on track. And there'll be remediation and scoping, rodding and roping. It sounds like some bad game. Will occur in the next couple of months, April, May, by the Downer Group, who are the contractors here. So you might see guys with NBN magnets on utes and singlets, pulling up pits and looking into the conduits that exist. But fundamentally, for Dubbo, June, July, and also for Mudgee, June, July. Physical construction.
And I'm in the middle of the city, and I'm not even listed to get it. So think yourself really lucky. Any other questions?
Just a very quick question, and I do apologise if you've answered this thing as I got here late. It seems to me that in Dubbo, that because of the NBN, the infrastructure on the internet actually seems to have considerably slowed down. It's been my experience, so I don't know if anyone else has been complaining about that. So, and the common thing has been going, oh, because the NBN's coming here, no one's willing to spend anything on it. But it's also probably because increasing usage. I'm just a bit worried that if the NBN doesn't go ahead, our speeds are just going to continue to decrease.
I don't have any evidence to, I mean, I'll take it on face value what you're saying. I don't have any evidence to say that the speeds have deteriorated. It's probably fair to say that, you know, it's a major shift moving to the NBN. It's a structural shift in the whole telco industry. However, until such time as the NBN has been rolled out and is up and running, I know a lot of the carriers out there still believe they can make money off the legacy networks. And I would suggest to anyone that if they do believe that they're getting substandard performance, to go through the usual channels to raise it with your carriers or the telecommunications industry ombudsman. You know, if they're not delivering the speeds that you've signed up for, I'd be raising it, you know, with your carrier and then through the appropriate mechanisms, because I can't see any reason why they wouldn't be. You know, they've still got brands. They've got brands in the market. Some of the big providers will be using the NBN, so at the end of the day, it's going to enhance retail competition. And if you're not getting a service by carrier X at the moment, and then the NBN becomes live, why would you go with carrier X on that network? So I suppose that's my
I put a positive spin on that, is that all the excitement about the NBN has made people use the internet more and more and more. So, you know, I think there is that education process happening. That may be evidence of it.
And in front?
It's not so much a question, but more an observation, and I'd be interested in the panel's thinking on this as well. As a web developer working in the industry, one of the things that we struggle with all the time with small business is, and it's following on from the question over here, about it's a funny industry in that it's a highly technical aspects of what actually happens, but in the marketplace there's an underappreciation of that technical expertise and a difficulty to communicate, because it's so easy for us to drive an iPad, or my 16-year-old can build a website, therefore that's all I'm going to do with my small business. So a lot of times I think small business owners can make bad choices, as you've alluded to, because they think it's so easy that I'll just get my 15-year-old nephew to do something. And so there's not enough of an understanding of the inherent sophistication that's gone in to make it so simple. And I'd be interested in the panel's thinking on why it is that our experts struggle to be understood in the communication process around the NBN, when you have political people that take control of the debate and the communication, and because they don't understand, and it's apparently obvious whenever they open their mouth and speak about the solution, that they have no idea what they're talking about, and that's what the average person is listening to. I realise you may not be able to answer some of those with an honest appraisal, but that's how I'm feeling.
I'll give it a try. I think there's been a simplification, and I think actually it's not a bad thing, because in order to get the message across to the public, it's had to be simplified to a point where people can understand it. And I think the thing that has not yet emerged, I think Jeff, I'm not sure if he's here, from Australian Centre for Broadband Innovation, was quoted recently saying something to the effect of, we haven't yet speculated on how big the flow-on effects will be as web developers and others start having to build all the applications on top of the NBN. And I don't think people really want to speculate on that, because they will only be wrong. But suffice to say is that the cost of hiring a software engineer in Dubbo, I dare say, is probably about a third the price of most major centres. And already we'll start to see the flow-on effects of that, is that regional areas will become more productive and competitive. So take advantage of it. That's probably my advice.
Yeah, look, a good question. I think it's unfortunate that the NBN became a political football in the first place, and it really got knocked around. But I think that what's happening is, and I'm seeing this more and more, and it's to do with generational change. There's Gen X, there's Gen Y, that you've got to consider in your business, Gen Z, and now Gen C, the connected generation, which can be, and it's not age-based. It's the connected means that anyone from 6 to 90 who use a smartphone or use any device, mobile device, to access the internet.